The night before my wedding, my future mother-in-law made me sleep in a freezing basement while my fiancé said nothing. That was the moment I realized I wasn't marrying into a family. I was marrying into a hierarchy, and I was at the very bottom. My name's Chloe, I'm 29, and I always thought I'd be one of those brides who cried happy tears before walking down the aisle. I thought I'd wake up in a warm bed, surrounded by love, laughter, and excitement. Instead, I woke up shivering, lying on a dusty air mattress in a freezing Colorado basement while everyone else slept comfortably in their luxury rooms upstairs. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to 3 days before the wedding. My fiancé, Grant, had always told me his family was tight-knit. That was the word he used. Tight-knit. What he really meant was controlling. Cold. Calculated. But I didn't want to believe that. I wanted to believe that Loretta, his mom, just needed time to warm up to me. That Clarice, his sister, wasn't being snide, just sarcastic. That the way they always forgot to include me in conversations was just nerves. Looking back, I can see the signs were always there. Loretta making comments about my dress being a little ambitious for your figure. Clarice calling me the placeholder when she thought I wasn't listening. Grant brushing it all off every time I brought it up. It's just how they are, he said. They don't mean anything by it. Try not to take it personally. I tried. God, I tried. When we arrived at the mountain lodge where the wedding was set to happen, I was optimistic. The place was stunning. Wooden cabins, snow-dusted pine trees, a frozen lake sparkling under the sun. I thought maybe, just maybe, things would be different now that we were days away from becoming family. Then came the room assignments. Loretta handed out handwritten envelopes like it was some weird royal tradition. Grant got the master suite. Clarice and her boyfriend got the private guest house. Loretta, of course, took the bridal room, because she deserved it more. And me? I got the basement. When I opened the envelope and saw lower-level room C, I thought it was a joke. I even laughed. Loretta didn't. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "It's tradition. Brides don't sleep in the main house before the wedding." I turned to Grant, expecting him to say something, anything. He just rubbed the back of his neck and muttered, "It's only for a couple nights, babe. Just go with it." So I went. With it. With all of it. The cold, unfinished basement with no heat. The stained mattress that smelled like mildew. The single flickering bulb overhead. No closet, no window, not even a rug. They called it tradition, but it felt like exile. The next morning, I walked upstairs and found them all at the breakfast table, laughing over coffee and pancakes. No one saved me a plate. No one even looked up. I stood there in my sweats and socks, freezing and humiliated, and Loretta just said, "You might want to freshen up. You look a little rough." I bit my tongue until I tasted blood. That was the first time I really looked at Grant. I mean, looked. And what I saw wasn't a man torn between two worlds. He wasn't confused or conflicted. He was comfortable. Comfortable letting them treat me like this. Comfortable pretending it was normal. That night, after dinner, where I was seated at the kids' table with Clarice's boyfriend's 13-year-old nephew, Loretta made one last announcement. "Tomorrow's rehearsal dinner is family only. Chloe, we'll need you to find something else to do." And Grant just nodded. That was it. I smiled, not because I was okay, but because something inside me clicked. Something sharp, something final. "Sure," I said, "I have something in mind." Because if they wanted to freeze me out, they had no idea what I was about to set on fire. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the cold, or the flickering light bulb, or the fact that my bed had springs poking through the fabric like teeth. I didn't sleep because I was planning. While Loretta was upstairs sipping her chamomile tea, and Grant was probably tucked into a luxury duvet, dreaming about brunch, I was lying on that thin mattress in the basement, staring at the ceiling, listing every humiliation they had thrown my way. And I started making a list of my own. They thought I was weak, passive, that I'd just take it, like the girls before me probably did. But I wasn't them, and they were about to find that out. The next morning, I climbed up the basement stairs like I was rising from a tomb. Clarice was already in the living room in full athleisure gear, taking selfies. She didn't even acknowledge me. Loretta, perched at the kitchen counter, gave me that condescending smile again. "Good morning, Chloe. Did you sleep all right?" I didn't answer. I just walked past them, grabbed a piece of dry toast, and headed outside into the freezing air. I needed space. I needed time to breathe. I sat on a bench by the frozen lake, phone in hand, heart pounding. And then I did something I hadn't done in months. I reached out to someone who knew Grant before I did. Her name was Delilah. We'd never met in person, but her name had come up once, in passing. Grant had described her as a short-term thing, someone clingy who made everything dramatic. He said they ended things mutually, that she wasn't marriage material. At the time, I didn't ask questions. I should have. I found her on Facebook. Her profile picture showed her in a kayak, smiling, hair windblown. She looked free, strong. I hesitated for maybe 2 seconds. Then I messaged her. "Hi, this is going to sound strange, but I'm engaged to Grant. We're getting married tomorrow. Something happened, and I think you might know what I mean. Do you have a moment?" She replied within 5 minutes. "I was wondering when you'd reach out." I froze. My hands went cold, and not from the weather. "What do you mean?" I asked. Delilah's next message made my blood run cold. They did it to me too, Loretta and Clarice. They treated me like garbage. I slept in a laundry room on Grant's brother's wedding weekend. He said it was tradition. He said it was just a few days. He never defended me. And after I left, they told everyone I was unstable. I stared at the screen. My chest tightened. Grant had lied. Not just about Delilah, but about everything. And it got worse. Delilah continued, "You're not the first. And you won't be the last if you go through with it. He doesn't protect you because he doesn't want to. They break women down. That family, they're poison." I don't remember walking back to the lodge. My body moved, but my brain was buzzing. I felt sick, betrayed. But more than anything, I felt clarity. This wasn't just wedding stress. This wasn't nerves. This was a pattern, a twisted tradition, and Grant had invited me into it knowingly. When I walked in, they were decorating the entryway for the rehearsal dinner. Fairy lights, champagne buckets. Clarice was barking orders at a staff member. Loretta was rearranging candles. Grant saw me and smiled. "Hey babe, you okay? You look pale." I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Can I talk to you?" "Alone?" He nodded and followed me out onto the back deck. The snow was falling gently now, quiet, peaceful. I turned to him and said, "Did you do this to Delilah too?" He blinked. "What are you talking about? Did you make her sleep in a laundry room? Did your mom humiliate her the same way she's humiliating me?" His face went slack. "Who told you that?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Grant ran a hand through his hair, exhaling. "Look, my family has traditions. I didn't think it would upset you this much." That sentence right there broke something in me. "I don't think I can marry you," I said softly. He froze. "Wait." "What?" I said I don't think I can marry you. And before he could speak again, Loretta burst through the door, frantic. "Chloe, what did you do? The wedding planner just called. All the vendor payments were canceled. The caterer, the photographer, even the venue." Grant turned to me, eyes wide. "Chloe, what the hell did you do?" I looked at them both, and I smiled. Loretta's voice cracked like a whip. "All the vendors? Chloe, are you serious?" I didn't say a word. I just stood there on the deck, arms crossed, letting the cold bite into my skin. She stormed toward me, red-faced, shaking. "You canceled everything? The flowers? The catering? The venue?" Behind her, Grant looked like he'd just been hit by a truck. "Chloe, you didn't." I turned to him, slow and deliberate. "I told you. I had something in mind." The color drained from his face. The silence between us cracked under the pressure of Loretta's screeching and Clarice's voice joining in from inside. They were shouting about lost deposits, angry phone calls, guests arriving to nothing. I didn't flinch. I let it all burn, because it was mine. Every vendor contract, every payment, every detail was under my name, my email, my account. I'd planned this wedding from the ground up. Loretta had insisted on controlling the experience, but I was the one who actually booked it all because she didn't do online things. So yes, I canceled everything, and I didn't lose a cent. Inside the lodge, panic spread like wildfire. Clarice was on the phone yelling at the florist. Loretta kept pacing, ranting about how this would ruin our image, and Grant just stood there, still, silent. That was the part that broke me all over again. Even now, when his mother was unraveling in front of him, when I was clearly done, when the truth had landed like a slap, he still didn't defend me. He didn't say, "You shouldn't have treated her like that." He didn't say, "Mom, you crossed a line." He didn't say anything at all, so I did. I turned to Loretta and said, "Don't worry. You won't need to fake a smile at the wedding." She blinked. "What are you talking about?" "There is no wedding. I'm calling it off." Clarice dropped her phone. Loretta gasped. "And Grant?" He laughed. A bitter, sharp, disbelieving sound. "You're kidding. You can't just walk away." "Oh, I can." And I am. I went back inside, ignoring the chaos, and packed my bag in under 10 minutes. My flight to San Diego was already booked. I'd had a backup plan ever since they handed me that envelope with lower-level room C scribbled on it. When I walked back through the living room, Loretta tried one last time to stop me. "You're making a huge mistake. No one will believe your side. You'll look insane." I smiled without warmth. "Good thing I saved all the voicemails, the texts, the photos. I think Reddit will love this story." She paled. "You wouldn't." I looked her dead in the eye. "Watch me." And then I left. But here's the thing. I thought that was the end of it. I really did. Until 3 hours later, at the Denver airport, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Delilah. "Chloe, I don't want to scare you, but I just got a call from someone who used to work with Grant's family's law firm. You need to check your email, now." Confused and suddenly cold all over again, I opened my inbox. There, at the top, was an auto notification from my credit monitoring service, and another, and another. 3 credit card applications, 2 loan requests, 1 flagged for fraud, all under my name. I opened the details and froze. The contact address was Loretta's home. The phone number was a landline from their estate. They weren't just trying to humiliate me anymore. They were trying to ruin me. Comment the number 2 if you want to see how I turn this financial sabotage into the final nail in their coffin. I sat in the corner of Gate 21, staring at my phone like it might catch fire. 3 credit card applications, 2 fraudulent loans, all using my full legal name, my birthday, my social, and the contact details, Loretta's house. This wasn't just some emotional tantrum. This was premeditated financial sabotage. My heart was thudding so hard it echoed in my ears, but I didn't panic. Not this time. I opened my notes app. I made a list. Names, timestamps, evidence. Then I opened my voice recorder. I called Grant. He picked up on the second ring. "Chloe, please, can we just talk?" I didn't let him finish. "I got an alert from Experian. 3 credit cards, 2 loan applications, all with your mom's address." Silence. "You want to tell me what's going on?" I asked, voice razor sharp. He laughed, nervously. Whoa, okay, that's insane. Are you seriously accusing my family of fraud now?" "Not accusing," I said calmly. "I'm documenting." Click. I ended the call. By the time I landed in San Diego, I had already emailed every piece of evidence I had to my lawyer friend, Kendra. She worked in identity theft cases and knew exactly what to do. While Loretta was probably pacing her kitchen, waiting for me to crawl back and beg for forgiveness, I was filing a police report and freezing my credit. Kendra called me 3 hours later with a grim tone. It's worse than we thought. These weren't just random attempts. They submitted forged pay stubs, fake W-2s, and tax documents under your name. That's felony territory. My stomach twisted. And the IP addresses? Tracked to their family office. Chloe, they used their business server. It was bold, arrogant, reckless, and it was going to cost them everything. The next morning, I posted a carefully written thread on Reddit. Not out of revenge, but for my own safety. I left out names, locations, anything that could be legally considered defamation. But I told the truth. I detailed how my fiancé's family forced me to sleep in a basement before my wedding, how they isolated me, gaslit me, tried to destroy my credit when I walked away. It went viral in under 5 hours. By sunset, I had over 30 DMs. 3 from other women who had dated Grant in the past. 2 of them said they were also pressured to sign joint financial documents weeks before breaking up. Pattern, pattern, pattern. I gathered everything, every message, every voicemail, every screenshot. Then I booked a hotel conference room in downtown San Diego, and I sent the invite. To Grant, to Loretta, to Clarice. The subject line was simple. Let's talk. One last time. They showed up 2 days later. Late, of course. Entitled people always arrive late. Loretta walked in first, chin high, pretending like she wasn't caught red-handed. Grant looked tired, worn down. Clarice was texting someone, clearly bored. I stood at the head of the table, laptop open, folder beside me. "Thanks for coming," I said calmly. "We have a lot to discuss." Loretta rolled her eyes. "This little show won't change anything. You're just trying to stay relevant." I ignored her. I turned the laptop around and hit play. Audio of Grant saying, "That's insane. Are you seriously accusing my family of fraud now?" Then I opened the folder. Police report, IP logs, forged W-2 copies, certified from Kendra's law firm. Loretta's face turned gray. Clarice stopped typing. "You used your company's IP address," I said quietly. "You forged income under my name. That's 2 federal charges. I've already filed a complaint with the FTC and local authorities." Grant stood. "You don't have to do this. Let's talk. Just you and me." I smiled. "No, Grant. You had your chance." I slid a second envelope across the table. "This is notice of a restraining order, effective immediately. You are not to contact me again." He looked like he'd been slapped. "But I loved you," he whispered. And here it was. The final blow. I reached into my bag and pulled out a stack of printed emails. "Then explain these," I said, tossing them on the table. They were emails from Loretta to their family accountant, dated 2 weeks before the wedding. In them, she instructed the accountant to create financial dependency and prepare Chloe's documents for post-nuptial agreements. She wasn't just trying to ruin me after I left. She had planned to own me, before I ever said I do. Loretta stared at the emails like she couldn't breathe. Clarice looked between us, speechless for once in her life. And Grant, he just sat there, slack-jawed, like his entire reality had shattered in front of him. I let the silence sit for a moment. Then I leaned in and asked, "So tell me again, what part of this was tradition?" Loretta stood up so fast, her chair screeched backward. "You won't get away with this," she snapped, voice shaking. "This is slander. You're ruining our name." I nodded slowly. "Good. You built your reputation on lies. Now the world gets to see what's underneath." She opened her mouth to argue, but I cut her off with one last envelope. "This is from the IRS. They've opened a preliminary audit. Seems some of the forged W-2s you submitted in my name don't match your reported income. I wonder how deep they'll dig once they get started." Her face drained of color. Clarice finally spoke. "You set us up." I smiled. "Number I gave you a chance to treat me like family. You chose to treat me like property." Grant stood now, both hands flat on the table. "You didn't love me at all. This was all a game to you." I looked at him for a long moment. I wanted to feel something, regret, sadness, even rage, but all I felt was peace. "You're wrong," I said quietly. "I loved you enough to believe you'd protect me. I just didn't realize you'd rather stay silent than stand up to your mother." He sank back into his chair, defeated. That was the moment it ended. Not with screaming, not with violence, but with the quiet collapse of a man who finally saw who he had become. 2 weeks later, I got the call from Kendra. The police had officially opened an investigation into the fraudulent credit applications. The bank flagged the accounts. The IP evidence was solid. Loretta was facing 2 felony charges for identity theft and attempted fraud. Clarice was being subpoenaed for aiding in document forgery. Grant, surprisingly, wasn't charged, but I found out later that his family's law firm, the one he was set to inherit, was quietly removed from 2 major partnerships due to the scandal. Their name was all over the news in a quiet, shameful kind of way, the kind that destroys reputations slowly. And as for me, I moved into a small place by the coast. Nothing fancy, just peace. Every now and then, I still get messages from people who read my Reddit post. Women thanking me for speaking up. Others sharing their own horror stories of control, manipulation, and tradition used as a weapon. But one message stood out. It came from a burner account, no profile picture. "You think you won, but you destroyed a family. You'll regret this someday." I stared at the screen for a moment. Then I typed back. "Number, I didn't destroy a family. I exposed a system that tried to destroy me. And I survived." And then I blocked the account. This wasn't the life I planned. But it's mine now. Fully mine. And I sleep in my own bed. In my own home. No basement, no silence, no fear. Just one truth that took me too long to learn. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't revenge. It's choosing yourself and making sure they never get a second chance to break you again. Comment the number 2 if you want more stories where justice hits hard and karma hits even harder. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the next one. It's even wilder.